The first time my fiancée called me controlling, she did it with her hand on my sleeve. Not in anger, not in tears, not even loudly. She said it at our rehearsal dinner, in front of both families, our closest friends, and the lawyer she had asked to come because, in her words, honesty should have witnesses. "I just don't want to feel controlled anymore," Evelyn said. The table went quiet the way expensive rooms do, with everyone pretending not to react. No chairs scraped. Her mother folded her hands as if the verdict had finally arrived. My sister stared at me from 3 seats down, her face caught somewhere between confusion and shame. The pen waited on the tablecloth. So did the agreement. Mutual protection, Evelyn had called it. A document to help us begin marriage with honesty. A promise that neither of us would use money, fear, or emotional pressure against the other. She had insisted we sign it there, before dessert, while everyone we loved could witness our fresh start. I had planned to sign it because I loved her, because she said she needed to feel safe, because saying no, after a sentence like that, would make me look exactly like the man she was describing. Then Mara Ellison stood up, Evelyn's maid of honor, her oldest friend. The woman seated beside the flowers, gripping a black recorder so tightly her knuckles had gone white. "Mara," Evelyn said, and for the first time all night her smile arrived late. Mara looked at me, not at her. "Ask her who told her to use that word." No one moved. The lawyer's fingers moved to the edge of the folder, like he was ready to close it before anyone asked the wrong question. Evelyn laughed once, too fast. And suddenly the agreement in front of me did not look like protection. It looked like a confession someone had written for me. I did not reach for the pen. That was the first thing I did right. Not because I was brave. My hand was still open beside the plate, close enough to mistake my shock for guilt. My water glass was sweating onto the tablecloth. I remember that because my mind refused to hold the larger thing. Evelyn had called me controlling. Mara had said someone told her to use that word. And the recorder in Mara's hand kept blinking red. Patricia Cross, Evelyn's mother, broke the silence first. "This is not the time for theatrics." Her voice was soft. Patricia could make a warning sound like a toast. Mara did not sit down. "I agree," she said. "That's why he should not sign a legal document in the middle of a staged dinner." A few heads turned toward Grant Whitaker, the lawyer. He wore a Navy suit and the careful stillness of a man who knew how much trouble one loose sentence could cause. Grant cleared his throat. "This agreement is voluntary." "Then he can read it tomorrow," Mara said. Evelyn's hand tightened on my sleeve. "Andrew," she said, "please don't let her embarrass us." Us. That word almost worked. I had spent 2 years letting that word guide me back into line. Us meant I lowered my voice when Evelyn said I sounded angry. Us meant I apologized when she said my questions felt like pressure. Us meant I stopped asking why she needed separate accounts for wedding expenses. Rachel's chair shifted 3 seats down. My sister's eyes moved from the recorder to my hand. She only placed her napkin on the table and waited. Mara stepped away from the flowers. Her pale green dress brushed the chair behind her. She looked like someone who had dressed for a wedding and arrived at a crime scene by mistake. "Play it," she said. Evelyn released my sleeve. The absence of her hand felt colder than the touch had. "Mara," she said, with a small, wounded laugh, "you're upset. I know this weekend has been emotional for everyone." "I'm not upset. You're shaking, I know. Then maybe sit down before you say something you can't take back." Mara's thumb rested on the recorder's play button, but she did not press it yet. That restraint scared me more than panic would have. I found my voice in pieces. "What is on that?" Mara turned the recorder in her palm. A silver scratch crossed the black plastic near the button. For some reason, that scratch made it real. Not an accusation. A thing that had been carried and hidden. "Enough for you to know why she wanted an audience," Mara said. A murmur passed along the table. Grant slid the folder half an inch closer to himself. Evelyn noticed. "So did I." "Andrew," she said, and now her voice changed. Not much, just a thread pulled tight. "You know me. I wanted that to be true. I wanted to stand up, take her hand, tell everyone this was a misunderstanding, and ask Mara to meet us somewhere private. But wanting a thing back does not make it honest." I picked up the agreement. The first page looked harmless. Names, dates, words built to calm people down. Then I saw the phrase again. Pattern of emotional control. Not a possibility, not a fear. A pattern. "When did you add this?" I asked. Evelyn blinked. Grant answered before she could. The language reflects conversations Evelyn and I had regarding mutual boundaries. Mutual, Rachel said. It was only one word, but it landed hard. Patricia turned toward her. Rachel, perhaps this should remain between the couple. Rachel looked at the table, then at me. It stopped being between them when you put a pen in front of my brother like a centerpiece. Evelyn's face softened. I knew that softness. I had apologized to it before. Andrew, she said. I never wanted to hurt you. But you do understand how your behavior has felt to me. There it was. The open door. All I had to do was walk through it. Say I was sorry. Say I never meant to make her feel that way. Sign now. Repair the room. Instead, I folded the first page back down. I want to hear the recorder. Evelyn's eyes went to Mara. Not angry. Afraid. Grant leaned forward. I would advise against playing private material in front of guests. Mara pressed play. At first, there was only static and the faint clink of glass. Then Evelyn's voice came through the tiny speaker, lower than the one she used at dinner. He'll sign if I make it sound like I'm scared. My stomach dropped so fast I had to put one hand on the table. The recorder kept going. Andrew apologizes before he asks questions. That's what makes him useful. No one spoke. The sentence did not explode. It settled on the plates, the flowers, the folded napkins, and the blank line where my name was supposed to go. Evelyn's mouth opened, but nothing polished came out. Mara stopped the recording before anyone could pretend they had misheard. I stood up slowly. The chair legs made the first ugly sound in the room. I need air, I said. Evelyn reached for me again, but I moved before she could touch my sleeve. I took the agreement with me, not because I meant to sign it, because that night I wanted to read the story someone had written about me before deciding whether I still belonged in it. Mara followed me into the hallway. Behind us, the dinner began to break into whispers. Ahead of me, the service corridor was narrow, bright, and smelled like lemon cleaner. My hand shook around the folder. Mara stopped a few feet away, close enough to speak, far enough not to corner me. I'm sorry, she said. I looked down at the recorder in her hand. The red light was still blinking. For what part? I asked. Her face changed, and that was when I understood the recording was not the whole truth. It was only the first door. The hallway did not give me enough room to be angry. It was built for servers carrying trays, not for a man standing outside his own rehearsal dinner with a legal folder in one hand and his fiancée's voice still sitting under his ribs. Mara held the recorder at her side. For what part? I asked again. She swallowed. For not bringing it to you sooner. That should have made me demand every name, every date, every lie she had carried into my life. Instead, I heard myself say, "It's okay." The words came out before I chose them. Mara's eyes tightened. No, she said, it isn't. I hated how familiar that felt. Someone hurt me. Someone apologized with half the truth still hidden. And there I was, already smoothing the floor between us so nobody had to trip over what they had done. Behind the dining room doors, voices rose and fell. Evelyn's mother was probably standing now. Grant would be advising Evelyn not to say anything careless. Rachel would be watching the door. I wanted to go back in and fix it. Not sign, not surrender. Just fix the shape of the evening. Tell the guests there had been a misunderstanding. Tell Evelyn we could talk privately. Mara must have seen something move across my face, because she stepped aside instead of closer. Don't go back in just to make them comfortable, she said. The words were simple. They still found the bruise. I had been making rooms comfortable since I was 9 years old. My father was not a cruel man. He went silent. My mother filled the silence with apologies, and I learned to do the same. If one sentence from me could make the kitchen breathe again, I gave it. By 35, I had built a life around being first to say, I'm sorry. That was the part Evelyn had loved at first. You're steady, she used to say. We met at a charity auction after one of the display chairs collapsed under a donor. While everyone else pretended it had not happened, I repaired the cracked leg behind the stage with wood glue and a borrowed clamp. Evelyn found me there with 2 paper cups of coffee. You're the only person fixing the chair, she said. It's a good chair. It humiliated a rich man. The chair didn't choose that. She laughed. Later, she told people that was when she knew I was kind. I believed her. At my shop, damage had edges. A hinge broke, a table stained, a chair split, and I could see where the repair should begin. People were harder. Evelyn came with stories, and I learned the roads around her pain until my own life got smaller. The first time she said I made her feel watched, I had asked why a hotel charge appeared on the wedding account when we had not traveled that month. I apologized for my tone. The second time she said I made her feel trapped, I had asked if she still wanted to invite her ex-business partner to the ceremony. I apologized for my insecurity. The third time she said she needed space from my questions, I stopped asking them out loud. Rachel noticed before I did. 2 months before the rehearsal dinner, she came by the shop with takeout and found me sanding the same drawer front long after it was smooth. "You know she doesn't win every argument because she's right," Rachel said. I kept the sander moving. "She doesn't win arguments. No. She just makes you feel guilty for having one." I turned off the sander. The shop went still except for the old heater ticking near the back wall. "That's not fair," I said. "To who?" "To Evelyn." Rachel stared at me with a sadness that did not ask to be comforted. "You defend her faster than you defend yourself." I had no answer, so I opened the containers and told her the dumplings were getting cold. Now, in the country club hallway, I heard Rachel's voice again. The folder bent in my grip. Mara nodded toward it. "Have you read all of it?" "Enough. Enough to know it isn't mutual?" I looked down at the cover page. My name and Evelyn's name sat side by side in clean black print. Equal spacing, equal font, equal lie. "You knew about this?" I asked. "Not all of it." "That's not an answer. I know." The dining room doors opened. Rachel stepped out first. She checked my face, the folder, then Mara. "Do you want me to stay?" I almost said no. Not because I wanted her to leave, but because needing someone felt like putting weight on them. Rachel waited me out. "Yes," I said. Mara placed the recorder on a narrow shelf beside a stack of clean linen. She did it slowly, like she wanted both of us to see she was not hiding it. "I can send you a copy," she said. "But you need to leave with the original." "Why?" "Because if Evelyn gets it, this becomes another story about your reaction instead of what she said." That sounded too exact. Rachel heard it too. "What does that mean?" my sister asked. Mara rubbed one thumb over the silver scratch near the play button. "It means Evelyn is very good at making the second thing look like the first thing." My phone buzzed. "Evelyn, please don't punish me in front of everyone." My thumb moved before my mind did. I started typing. "I'm not trying to punish you. I'm sorry this got—" Rachel took the phone out of my hand. Not roughly, not dramatically. She just removed it like a match from a counter near spilled gasoline. "No," she said. Heat rose in my face. "I was only going to calm things down." "I know." Mara looked away, but not fast enough to hide the hurt in her expression. Maybe she recognized the habit. Maybe she had helped Evelyn count on it. "I don't know how to be the man in that sentence," I said. Neither of them asked which sentence. Andrew apologizes before he asks questions. Mara picked up the recorder and offered it to me. This time, I took it. "I'm going to my shop," I said. Rachel nodded. "I'll drive you." Mara did not ask to come. That mattered. She only said, "There's more you need to know. But not in this building." Rachel opened the side door. Cold air moved in, carrying the smell of wet pavement and cut grass. Through the narrow window in the dining room door, Evelyn stood beside the table, one hand pressed to her mouth. People surrounded her. Patricia touched her back. Grant leaned close, speaking into her ear. She looked wounded. She looked believable. And for a moment, my body still wanted to go to her. That was the old wound. Not that I loved someone who hurt me. That I thought loving someone meant arriving first at the place where I had been hurt and cleaning it up for them. At the shop, 2 hours later, I sat beside an unfinished oak table and played the recording again. Evelyn's voice filled the dark. "He'll sign if I make it sound like I'm scared." Static. Andrew apologizes before he asks questions. That's what makes him useful. I pressed stop. Rain tapped the high windows. Sawdust clung to the knees of my suit pants. The agreement lay open on the workbench under a clamp meant for broken wood. That night, I stopped wondering whether Evelyn had lied. I started wondering how long she had been studying the shape of my surrender. By midnight, the agreement looked different under the shop light. At the country club, it had looked ceremonial. On my workbench, clamped beneath the shop light, it looked like a trap with polite grammar. The clamp pressed one corner flat, but it could not make the language less crooked. Rachel sat near the sanding table with a printed copy. Mara stood by the back sink, holding untouched coffee. Rachel had texted her one line. "Bring what you have." I had not asked Rachel to do that. I had also not told Mara to leave. Both were true, and neither made me feel clean. Start with the definitions, Rachel said. She had always been better than me at seeing where language hid its teeth. I turned to page 3. Emotional pressure, financial discomfort, repeated questioning, pattern of control. Each phrase wore a suit. None of them said I had asked about missing money, a strange guest list, or the way every question became proof that I asked too many. I marked the margin with a pencil. Mara noticed the way I held it. You don't have to make it neat, she said. I'm not. You are. Even now. The pencil tip broke. That tiny snap made Rachel flinch. I set the pencil down carefully, because some old part of me still believed careful hands could prove a careful heart. Rachel reached across the bench and took the pencil away. Use a pen, she said. I almost smiled. Mara's phone buzzed against the metal edge of the sink. She checked it, then turned it face down. Evelyn? Rachel asked. Mara nodded. What does she want? For me to remember who my friends are. Rachel's laugh had no humor in it. Convenient timing. Mara did not defend herself. That helped more than an apology would have. I turned to page 7. A line near the bottom stopped me. Both parties acknowledged that emotional safety may require transparency regarding private financial decisions, including business accounts, personal credit, and discretionary spending. The shop was mine because I had worked 12 years to make it mine. Evelyn had called it our future. The agreement called it leverage. If I signed this, I said. Could she reach the shop accounts? Mara looked at Rachel before answering. Rachel's jaw tightened. Don't look at me. Tell him. Mara put the coffee down. Maybe not directly, but if she claimed your business finances affected her safety or independence, the agreement would make it harder for you to refuse without sounding like you were hiding something. I read the sentence again. A document to help us begin marriage with honesty. The words did not protect honesty. They made suspicion useful. My laptop chimed. Rachel turned it toward me before I could reach for it. An email had come in from Grant Whitaker. Subject: Tonight's misunderstanding. Grant warned me not to share private recordings, partial documents, or emotionally charged interpretations. Attached was a revised mutual statement. Mara moved closer, but stopped before she reached my shoulder. Don't open it yet, she said. Why? Because it will ask you to sound sorry, without admitting anything specific. Rachel opened it anyway. We regret that private fears were exposed in a painful and public way, and we are committed to healing patterns that made Evelyn feel unheard and unsafe. My name was not on the sentence. It did not have to be. Rachel pushed the laptop back. That is not a statement, she said. That is a leash. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn, Grant is only trying to protect us. Please don't make this uglier. A second message arrived before I could breathe. Evelyn, if you care about me, don't let Mara turn you against your own life. I did not answer. Mara took a folder from inside her coat, not the legal folder, a thin gray one with a grocery receipt sticking out of the side. I need to show you why she's rushing. She opened it on the cleanest corner of the bench. Inside were 3 printed emails. The first was from Evelyn to Grant, dated 11 days earlier. Can we soften the language enough that Andrew won't panic? He shuts down when he thinks he's being accused, but he signs when he thinks signing will reassure me. My hand flattened on the bench. The second email was shorter. I need the word control somewhere, not abuse. Too strong. Control is enough for people to understand without me having to say more. Rachel whispered, God. Mara did not speak. The third email had a line cut off at the bottom, as if the printer had swallowed the last sentence. Mara already covered the first night. He believed it. Something in me stepped back from Mara. She saw it happen. I was going to tell you, she said. When? Tonight. That is what everyone keeps saying after I find things. Mara closed her mouth. Rachel picked up the third email. What first night? Mara looked at the recorder on the bench. The red light was off now, dead and quiet. Not here, she said. I laughed once, and the sound surprised all of us. Apparently everybody knows where the truth should not happen. Mara took that without flinching. You're right. I waited. She gripped the bench. 3 months ago, Evelyn asked me to say she slept at my place after a bridal shower. She said you were being insecure. I texted you because I thought I was preventing a fight. I remembered Evelyn coming home the next morning in yesterday's earrings, smiling too brightly for no sleep. I had asked one question. Mara had texted. She was with me. Please don't make this harder for her. I had apologized to both of them. What was she doing? I asked. Mara looked toward the rain-dark window. I don't know all of it. Maid. She met Grant, and someone named Caleb. Rachel straightened. Who is Caleb? Mara shook her head. I only saw the name once. My laptop chimed again. This time, it was not Grant. It was an automatic alert from the bank account Evelyn and I used for wedding expenses. Transaction posted. $12,000. Recipient, Whitaker Legal Consulting. Rachel read it aloud before I could stop her. Mara's face went white. I opened the banking app with fingers that did not feel attached to me. The transfer had been initiated the morning after Evelyn told me the florist needed a second deposit. The memo line said, joint approval. I had never approved it. On the bench, the agreement, emails, recorder, and Grant's statement waited under the clamp. Beside them sat the version of me Grant wanted me to sign before the night could decide what I was. For the first time since dinner, anger arrived clean. Not loud, not wild, clean enough to hold. I sent the bank alert to myself, then to Rachel. I picked up the bank alert and sent it to myself, then to Rachel. Mara watched me do it. What are you doing? She asked, asking questions before I apologize. No one told me to calm down. That helped. Then another email appeared at the top of my inbox. No subject, only one attachment. The sender was unknown. The file name was Caleb, Audio, 1. Mara covered her mouth. Rachel said my name, and the recorder on the bench suddenly felt less like the first door. It felt like the smallest one. We did not open the file from Caleb that night. Rachel wanted to. Mara said we needed a lawyer before touching anything from an unknown sender. I wanted to click it so badly my fingers hurt. Instead, Rachel put the laptop in the old safe at the back of my shop, beside client contracts, original sketches, and the deed from the day I bought the building. Sleep, she said. No one slept. By 7 the next morning, Evelyn had already made sure the story woke up before I did. My phone started buzzing on the workbench beside a cold cup of coffee, and the agreement still trapped under the clamp. First my best man, Noah. Then Evelyn's cousin. Then my mother, who left a voicemail that began with my full name and ended with her crying. Rachel read the group email before I could. Her face changed halfway down. Don't, Mara said. Rachel kept reading. The message had gone to both families, the wedding party, 3 close friends, and the pastor who was supposed to marry us the next afternoon. Subject: please give us grace. Evelyn wrote that last night had been painful and frightening. She said private concerns had been exposed in a way that made her feel unsafe. She said she loved me, but love could not survive without accountability. Then came the sentence that did the damage. Andrew is not a bad man, but his need for control has become something I can no longer carry quietly. Rachel put the phone face down. Mara closed her eyes. I reached for my own phone. The old instruction rose before thought could stop it. Fix it. Rachel caught my wrist. No, I need to answer. You need to breathe. If I don't answer, they'll think it's true. Mara's voice was low. If you answer too fast, she'll call it panic. I hated that she was right. I hated more that she knew Evelyn's next move before I did. At 8:30, Grant emailed all 3 of us. He requested a small, respectful conversation at the country club, in a private conference room near the bridal suite. Patricia Cross would attend. Noah would attend too, because Evelyn had asked for someone Andrew trusts. Mara was not invited. That was the trap. If she came, Evelyn could say I had chosen her maid of honor over my fiancé. If she stayed away, Evelyn could say the woman with the recorder was hiding. Mara read the email twice and set my phone down. I should not go in with you. Rachel folded her arms. That's exactly what she wants. No, Mara said. She wants me in that room angry. She wants Andrew defending me instead of himself. I buttoned the same wrinkled shirt I had worn under my suit the night before. Sawdust clung to one cuff. Rachel brushed it off without making a joke. At the country club entrance, the flowers sagged and our photo had been removed from the gold easel. Noah waited outside the conference room. He had been my friend since college. Now he held his phone in both hands and would not quite meet my eyes. Drew, he said. Nobody called me Drew, except people who knew me before. I learned how to be careful. Did you read her email? I asked. He nodded, and he rubbed the edge of his phone case. I just need to understand what happened. It was a fair sentence. It still landed like betrayal. The conference room door opened. Patricia Cross stood inside wearing a cream jacket and the expression of a woman greeting guests at a funeral she had paid too much for. "Andrew," she said, "thank you for coming." Grant sat at the table with a folder already open. Evelyn sat beside him in a pale sweater, no makeup except enough to look like she had cried neatly. Her engagement ring was still on. A chair had been left for me across from her, not beside her. Across. Rachel took the chair next to mine before anyone could tell her not to. Noah remained near the wall. Patricia, Grant, Evelyn, Rachel, Noah, and a wedding coordinator behind the glass all watched me sit down. Grant began. "We are here to prevent further harm." "Further harm to who?" Rachel asked. Patricia sighed. "This is exactly why we wanted the conversation small." Evelyn folded both hands around a tissue. "I don't want to fight," she said. "I want Andrew to understand how last night felt." My mouth opened. The apology was right there. "I am sorry it felt that way." Polite, familiar, deadly. I pressed my thumb into the edge of my chair until the nail hurt. "What word did someone tell you to use?" I asked. Evelyn's tissue stopped moving. Grant leaned back slightly. Patricia's gaze sharpened. "Excuse me?" "At dinner," I said. "Mara told me to ask who told Evelyn to use the word controlling." Evelyn's eyes filled, but the tears did not fall. "I used that word because it was true." Noah shifted near the wall. Rachel's hand closed around her phone. Grant slid a printed statement toward me. "Andrew, this is not an interrogation. Evelyn has agreed not to pursue any public claims if both of you sign a joint statement acknowledging the pain and committing to private counseling before making any final wedding decision." I read the first line. "We recognize that fear and control have affected our relationship in ways we are both responsible for healing." Both. There it was again. Equal fond. Equal lie. "This says I controlled her." "It says both of you contributed to a painful dynamic," Grant replied. "No," Rachel said. "It says he should help wrap the knife." Evelyn turned to Noah. That was when I understood why he had been invited. "Noah," she said softly, "you've seen how anxious he gets when things don't go the way he planned." Noah stared at the carpet. I remembered the florist appointment, the invoice I checked 3 times, and Evelyn laughing as she called me intense in front of him. "Drew likes details," Noah said. Evelyn's voice stayed gentle. "Details can become pressure." There it was. Not en accusation. A mist. Something everyone could breathe without noticing it entering them. Rachel started to speak, but I touched her arm. This one had to be mine. "I asked about money," I said. "I asked where wedding funds went. I asked why legal language about control appeared in a document I was expected to sign in public. If that is pressure, then the word has been made too small to hold the truth." Evelyn looked toward Grant. Too quickly. Grant closed the folder halfway. "This conversation is becoming unproductive." My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Mara appeared on the screen. "Do not defend me. Defend yourself." Evelyn saw her name. Her face changed. "You're texting her during this?" The sentence did exactly what she wanted. Noah's eyes went to my phone. Patricia's mouth tightened. Grant reached for his pen. I turned the phone face down. "She is not the reason I'm asking questions," I said. Evelyn stood. Her chair rolled back softly on the carpet. "I can't do this while he is being influenced by someone who clearly has her own feelings involved." Mara had not said she had feelings. She did not have to. Evelyn had placed the idea in the room, and every quiet person inside it could pretend they had found it themselves. Noah finally spoke. "Maybe the wedding should pause." Evelyn covered her mouth. Patricia touched her shoulder. Grant nodded like that had been the reasonable outcome all along. Outside the glass wall, the wedding coordinator took the gold sign with our names off the easel. She probably thought no one saw, but I saw my name come down beside Evelyn's. Not crossed out, not accused. Just removed before anyone had decided what was true. By the time I stood up, the story had already left the room ahead of me. In the hallway, 2 bridesmaids stopped talking when they saw my face. One of them lowered her eyes. The other stepped closer to Evelyn when she came out behind me. I had not signed anything. Still, somehow, everyone looked at me like I had confessed. I found Mara in the service corridor behind the bridal suite, standing beside a vending machine that hummed like it was the only thing in the building with nothing to hide. She had not gone into the meeting. She had not waited in the lobby either. That mattered, though I did not know what to do with it. The hallway forked near the laundry room. One side led back to the glass conference room, where people were probably learning how to say postponed without saying broken. The other led to a staff area with a mop sink, folded towels, and a metal chair with one bent leg. Mara saw my face and did not ask if I was okay. Good. I might have hated her for the question. Instead, she looked at my hand. I was holding the phone too tightly. The edge had pressed a red line into my palm. "Give me that," she said. "No. Not to read it." She raised both hands. "Not to read it." I handed it over because I was too tired to keep gripping everything. Mara placed the phone face down on the shelf. Then she took a clean cloth, ran it under cold water, and wrung it out. "Your hand," she said. "It's fine. It isn't bleeding. That doesn't mean it's fine." She did not touch me until I turned my palm up. The cloth was cold against the mark. For a few seconds, all I could hear was water ticking in the sink and muffled voices beyond the wall. Someone laughed in the distance. The sound went through me like a wire. Mara noticed. Her hand paused, then moved away. "I'm sorry," she said. I gave a short laugh. "That sentence is getting crowded. I know." "No, you don't." She took that without defending herself. The metal chair creaked when I sat. My knees were still angled toward the door. Mara stayed standing, the wet cloth in one hand, the other braced on the sink. "Everyone keeps using soft words," I said. "Concern, safety, accountability, grace. But they all point at me the same way." Mara's mouth tightened. "I spent 2 years trying not to be the man Evelyn said she was afraid of." I lowered my voice. I stopped asking questions in public. I apologized for things I had not even understood yet. The cloth dripped onto the floor. "I thought if I was careful enough," I said, "nobody could turn me into someone dangerous." Mara looked down. "What?" I asked. She folded the cloth once. I helped her do it. The words did not surprise me. "That was the worst part. The first night," I said. She nodded. "Tell me all of it." Mara leaned back against the sink. "After the bridal shower, Evelyn called me from a hotel parking lot. She said you had been questioning her, and she needed one night where she didn't have to explain herself. She asked me to text you and say she slept at my place. And you did." "Yes." "Why?" Her answer did not come fast. "Good. I told myself I was protecting my friend from a fight," she said. "I told myself couples have messy nights and friends cover for friends. That's the clean version." Mara closed her eyes briefly. "When she said you were becoming controlling, I believed enough of it to make myself comfortable." My hand went still under the cloth. "I did not think you were dangerous," she said. "But I had seen you check invoices. I had heard you ask where she had been. It was easier to believe there were two sides than to admit my friend was using the word as a weapon." A cart rolled somewhere beyond the door. Neither of us moved. "And Caleb?" I asked. "I don't know who he is to her. But you know something. I know he was at the hotel that night." The wet cloth slid from my palm onto my knee. Mara picked it up, but this time she did not put it back. "I saw him from my car," she said. "I drove there because Evelyn sounded wrong on the phone, not scared, excited. When I pulled in, she was standing near a black truck with a man I did not know. Grant arrived 10 minutes later. You still covered for her." "Yes." I stood too fast. The chair scraped the tile. Mara flinched, then hated herself for it. I saw both things happen. I stepped back, not because I wanted to make her afraid, because I did not want even my pain to look useful to Evelyn. "I'm not going to yell," I said. "I know." "No, you don't get to say that like you know me." Her face changed. That was the first honest wound I had given her. She nodded once. "You're right." The small room seemed to shrink around the sink, the towels, the phone, the bent chair. Mara, the one person who had stood up with the recorder, had also helped build the wall I was trying to climb out of. "Why bring it now?" I asked. "Why not 3 months ago?" "Because I was a coward. I waited." She gave me the rest. "Because I didn't want to lose Evelyn. Because if I admitted what she was doing, I had to admit what I had been ignoring for years. And because part of me liked being the good friend who fixed everything." That sounded too familiar. I hated that. Mara looked at the phone on the shelf. Then I heard the recording. "How?" She left me a voicemail by mistake. It was only 30 seconds. Her phone must have called me from her bag. "I heard her with Grant. I heard your name. I heard her laugh after she said you would sign if she sounded scared." "And you recorded it?" "I saved it. Then I bought the recorder and copied it because I was afraid she would erase the voicemail. The practical care of that made me angrier, not less." "You planned," I said. "Yes, but still waited until dinner." Her face went pale. I thought I could make her stop before it happened. I went to her room before dinner. She said if I interfered, she would tell everyone I had wanted you for months. The air changed. Not because it was romantic, because it was cruel. Evelyn had not only trapped me, she had put a blade near Mara's throat and waited to see if shame would hold her still. I did not want that to be true in a room full of people, Mara said. I should have asked whether it was true. I did not. Maybe because I already felt the answer standing between us. Maybe because her hand was still holding the wet cloth, and mine still remembered its cold pressure. The space between us became too noticeable. Not warm, dangerous. I took one step back before wanting could turn into another kind of confusion. Mara saw it and nodded, as if she had been waiting for me to choose the cleaner hurt. If anything ever happens between us, I said, it can't start in the wreckage she made. Her eyes filled, but she did not reach for me. Good, she said. That answer nearly undid me. Not because it was sweet, because it did not ask me to save her from the boundary. I picked up my phone from the shelf. No new messages from Evelyn. 3 from Noah, 1 from my mother. 1 unknown email still waiting in the safe, with Caleb's name attached to it. Mara folded the wet cloth and placed it beside the sink. I don't need you to trust me tonight, she said. I lost the right to ask for that. What do you need? To tell the rest before Evelyn tells it for me. The door opened before I could answer. Rachel stood there breathless, holding her phone. You both need to see this. On her screen was a photo someone had already posted from inside the conference room. Evelyn sat with her face in her hands. The caption read, Wedding paused after groom seen leaving with maid of honor. My name was not in it. Mara's was not either. It did not matter. The story had learned how to move without us. By noon, the caption had traveled farther than any truth I owned. Wedding paused after groom seen leaving with maid of honor. No names, no proof, no context. People could add whatever dirt they preferred. I was too tired to answer. My phone buzzed again. Noah, my mother, a client from the shop, unknown number, unknown number. Evelyn. Rachel took one step closer. Do not answer her. I know, but knowing did not stop my thumb from hovering over Evelyn's name. Not to apologize this time. To ask how she could do this. That would have been another kind of leash. I put the phone in my jacket pocket and left it there. At 1:15, Rachel got me on speaker with Teresa Cho, a lawyer who sounded sharp enough to keep me upright. Do not contact Evelyn directly, Teresa said. Do not respond to the group email. Do not open the unknown audio file until we preserve the device and metadata properly. Do not post. Do not sign a joint statement. She told me to copy the agreement, the recording, the bank transfer, the emails, and the social post. Then separate every business account from any shared access. Where are you living tonight? She asked. Evelyn and I had an apartment 10 minutes away. Her perfume was on the dresser. My boots were by the door. The coffee maker still had the cracked handle I kept meaning to replace. Half my life was inside a place I no longer knew how to enter. I can stay at the shop, I said. Rachel's face tightened. Andrew, it has a couch. It has a bench with a moving blanket. It has a lock. Teresa cut in. Do not go there alone. Bring a witness. Take essentials only. If Evelyn is there, leave. No arguments in doorways. Rachel drove me to the apartment because she did not trust my hands on a steering wheel. Mara did not come. Before we left the country club, she gave me the recorder in a padded envelope from her purse. Teresa will want this protected, she said. I took it by the edge. Her fingers did not brush mine. We were both careful now. My keys still worked. Inside, the apartment smelled like eucalyptus. Evelyn was not there. A white box sat on the dining table with my name in Evelyn's neat handwriting. Rachel said, don't open that. The bedroom looked staged. The duvet was tight, her jewelry tray arranged by color, and our engagement photo turned face down on the dresser. That was the kind of detail Evelyn would have planned. Not broken glass, a quiet symbol someone could describe later. I packed clothes, work boots, my shaving kit, and the old flannel Rachel had given me one Christmas. I left the navy suit from rehearsal dinner. In the bathroom, my toothbrush stood beside Evelyn's in the cup. I took mine and felt ridiculous for how final it looked. Rachel photographed the white box, the turned-down photo, and the untouched room. Evidence had become a habit faster than grief. Evidence had become a habit faster than grief. As we left, Martindale texted. His family had hired me to restore a walnut dining set for the Cross Foundation auction. Andrew, given the current uncertainty, We are going to pause the restoration project. I hope you understand. We just need to avoid complications. Complication. That was what I had become. Not a man, not a craftsman. A complication. The project was worth $18,000, and half the deposit had already gone toward materials. The walnut slabs were stacked in my shop, labeled and waiting. I had turned down 2 smaller jobs to make room for it. Rachel lowered her voice. We'll figure it out. Back at the shop, I changed passwords, sent screenshots, and asked the bank to review the $12,000 transfer. Nothing sounded like theft when said through a headset. By evening, my personal account had a fraud hold, and an automatic lumber payment failed because the system flagged related activity. The failure felt practical, not symbolic, which made it worse. A supplier called at 6 to 10. "Andrew, I'm sure it's nothing," he said, which meant he believed it was something. The moving blanket on the shop couch smelled like cedar dust and old varnish. I spread it over the cracked leather and set my duffel beneath the workbench. Rachel ordered soup, made me eat 3 bites, and went home only after I promised not to be heroic and stupid. 10 minutes later, Mara knocked on the side door. She held a paper bag from the diner across the street. I opened the door but did not step aside right away. Her eyes moved to the duffel, the couch, the blanket. "She took the apartment?" she asked. "No, I left it." "That's different. Feels the same." She nodded and placed the bag on the floor between us, instead of carrying it in. "Turkey sandwich. No onions. You picked them out at every lunch meeting Evelyn dragged us to." The detail hit a soft place. I hated that too. "Mara." "I know." She stepped back. "I'm not coming in unless you ask me to." The boundary was already there, but it needed words. Maybe for me more than her. "I can't let you become the place I hide from what she did," I said. "I don't want to be that. And I'm not leaving Evelyn because of you." Her chin trembled once. She held it still. "Good. If anything ever happens between us, it has to happen after the wreckage, not inside it." "I know. No. I need to say it clearly." My hand stayed on the doorframe. "Not tonight. Not while my name is still tangled up with hers. Not while people can make you the reason I finally stood up." Mara's eyes filled, but she did not move closer. "You're right," she said. That answer gave me no drama to push against. Only respect. She turned to leave, then stopped. "Teresa called me. She wants my written statement tomorrow." "Are you going to tell all of it?" "Yes. Even the part where you covered for her? Especially that part." The paper bag sat between my boots and hers. For a second, the hallway behind the shop felt less like exile and more like a threshold. Then my phone rang from inside. Unknown number. I let it ring twice before picking it up. A man's voice came through. "You don't know me," he said. "My name is Caleb, and if Evelyn still has access to your wedding account, she's not done using you." Mara froze on the step. Inside the shop, the recorder, the couch, and the sandwich waited. My old life waited for me to apologize my way back into it. I closed one hand around the phone. This time, I did not say sorry. I said, "Start talking." Caleb did not start with an apology. He started with a question. "Did she move money again?" The shop tightened around his voice. Mara stood just inside the side door, one hand still on the diner bag. The sandwich waited on the workbench like a small, normal thing from a life that had not been cut open. "What money?" I asked. "The wedding account," Caleb said. "Check vendor refunds. Not payments, refunds." I put him on speaker. "Who are you?" "Caleb Rusk. I used to handle event contracts for cross-foundation fundraisers. Evelyn brought me in 3 months ago to help unwind a private mess she didn't want her family to see." "What kind of mess?" "The kind that costs money." Mara's face went still. Caleb kept going. "Some of your wedding contracts have cancellation clauses. If the wedding pauses because of safety concerns, certain deposits can be redirected into a legal reserve until liability is settled." I heard Teresa's voice in my head. "Do not react without counsel." Still, my hand was already opening the banking app. A new pending item sat under the wedding account. Refund redirection request, $8,400. Recipient, cross-family legal reserve. My throat went dry. "She planned for the pause before last night," Caleb said. "I sent the audio because I didn't know how else to reach you. Don't open it alone. Give it to your lawyer." "Why help me now?" "Because I helped her once," he said. "And then I heard what she planned to say about you." The line cracked. I've known women who were actually scared. They don't rehearse which words sound best in front of witnesses. He hung up. For a moment, the only sound was the heater clicking behind the lumber racks. Then Noah texted, "Drew, I care about you. But people are worried. Evelyn says Mara has been feeding you things and you're not acting like yourself. Maybe step back from everyone tonight." People. That word did more damage than a name. I opened the wedding party chat. Bad idea. Messages moved in pieces. Is he with Mara now? Evelyn said she's scared to go home. I always thought he was intense about money. Someone reposted the photo of Evelyn with her face in her hands. Under it was a cropped screenshot from Mara. He does get intense when he's worried. My eyes went to her. That's mine, she said. I figured. It was from months ago. Evelyn asked if I thought you were angry about a vendor issue. I said you got intense when worried, but I also said you were never cruel. She cropped that part. Mara nodded. I wanted the clean anger from the night before. What came was older. Doubt. Not because I thought Mara was lying now. Because every truth arrived with a missing piece, and I kept finding the piece after I had already trusted the hand holding it. Mara reached into her coat and pulled out a folded statement. Teresa's name was written across the top. I wrote it, she said. The hotel. Caleb. The night I covered for Evelyn. The thread about saying I wanted you. The text she cropped. I did not make myself look good. She placed it on the bench and stepped back. I did not pick it up. My phone buzzed again. Evain, you're letting her ruin you. Then, ask yourself why she waited until now. Then, I can still fix this if you stop before it becomes public. Before it becomes public. It was already public. So she meant something else. Something official. My thumb opened a reply box. I never wanted to hurt you. I'm sorry things got this far. The sentence appeared so easily, it scared me. There I was again, offering her a bridge she could turn into a cage. Mara saw the screen but said nothing. That helped. Rachel would have taken the phone. Mara let me decide. I deleted the sentence one word at a time. Then another message appeared. Does he know which account Caleb saw? 3 dots flashed. The message disappeared. But the preview still sat on my lock screen. Mara whispered, "Screenshot it." I did. Not because she told me to. Because I had learned. 30 seconds later, Evelyn sent a new message. Andrew, please. I'm scared of what you're becoming. Her mistake had not made her honest. It had made her faster. I sent the screenshot to Teresa, then the bank alert, Noah's text, and the cropped image from the wedding chat. Teresa replied 12 minutes later. Do not engage. Emergency call tomorrow at 8. Preserve everything. We may need a formal meeting before Evelyn files first. Files first. The word stood up inside the shop. The chat kept moving. A bridesmaid said Evelyn was trying to be kind by not saying everything. Someone else said Mara had always been too invested. Noah did not defend me. He did not accuse me either. Somehow that felt worse. At 10:30, my mother called again. This time, I answered. She was crying before I said hello. Andrew, tell me you didn't scare her. The question took the air out of me. Not, are you okay? Not, what happened? Tell me you didn't scare her. I asked about money, I said. My mother cried harder. Your father keeps saying this is what happens when private things get handled in front of people. There it was. The old house. The old rule. Keep peace. Lower your voice. Make the room comfortable. I didn't make it public, I said. But now it is. Yes. And what are you going to do? The answer should have been careful. It came out plain. I'm going to stop helping people misunderstand me. Mara turned toward the dark window. Not to hide. To give me the dignity of saying it without being watched. After I hung up, I read her statement. It was ugly in the way true things can be ugly. She wrote that she had covered for Evelyn. She wrote that she had doubted me because it was easier than doubting her friend. She wrote that Evelyn had threatened to turn Mara's concern into a romantic motive if Mara interfered. At the bottom, Mara had added one sentence by hand. I helped make the lie believable before I chose to tell the truth. I folded the statement once and put it beside the recorder. The shop was full now. Not with people. With versions of me I had not agreed to be. Controlling. Unstable. Influenced. Intense. A complication. Mara stood near the side door. I'll go, she said. I nodded. She opened the door, then paused. Andrew, I kept my hand on the workbench. If tomorrow gets worse, don't let my mistake become the reason you go back to hers. The door closed gently behind her. I sat with the recorder, the statement, the bank alerts, and the cold sandwich. At 11:06 p.m., Teresa called. Evelyn's attorney requested a formal meeting tomorrow afternoon, she said. They're preparing a narrative. We need to get in front of it. What does that mean? It means tomorrow you stop reacting. I pressed my palm flat against the workbench. And? You tell the story in order. Outside, a car passed slowly down the alley behind the shop. For 1 second, I wondered if Evelyn had sent someone. Then I let the thought pass without apologizing to it. Okay, I said. Bring everything. I looked at the recorder. Mara's statement. The agreement. The bank screenshots. The message Evelyn had deleted too late. For the first time in my life, the truth did not feel like something I had to beg people to notice. It felt like something I could carry into a room, not to hurt her, to stop disappearing. Teresa's office looked like a place where people survived the truth after it arrived too late. Gray walls, glass table, coffee no one touched. I came in with Rachel, a cardboard file box, and a calm I did not trust yet. Mara came separately. Teresa had been clear that morning. She is a witness, not your shield, not your explanation. Mara sat near the end of the table with her written statement in front of her. She did not look at me when I entered. That helped. Across from us, Evelyn sat between Grant and Patricia. She wore the pale sweater again, her engagement ring bright against the tissue in her hand. Noah stood by the window, looking like he wished he had not opened the wrong door. Grant began. We are here to prevent escalation. Teresa clicked her pen once. We are here because your client attempted to create escalation and frame my client as the cause. Patricia's mouth tightened. That tone is unnecessary. No, Rachel said. It's overdue. Teresa turned to me. Andrew will speak. No one will interrupt him. Evelyn looked at me with wet eyes. Andrew, I never wanted us to become this. Us. The old word reached for me. I did not take it. I placed the agreement on the table. This is what you asked me to sign at dinner, I said. You called it mutual protection. Page 3 describes a pattern of emotional control. Page 7 connects emotional safety to business accounts and private spending. If I signed this in front of both families, I would have helped build a record against myself. Evelyn shook her head. That is not what I meant. I know what you said you meant. I set the first email beside it. This is what you wrote to Grant 11 days earlier. Can we soften the language enough that Andrew won't panic? He signs when he thinks signing will reassure me. Noah lifted his head. Grant's pen stopped moving. Evelyn leaned forward. That is being taken out of context. I placed down the second email. You also wrote, I need the word control somewhere, not abuse. Too strong. Control is enough for people to understand, without me having to say more. Her tissue twisted in her hand. That was legal language. No, I said. That was audience language. No one answered that. I put the bank screenshots next. $12,000 left the wedding account for Whitaker Legal Consulting. I did not approve it. Then, after the wedding was paused, a refund redirection request for $8,400 went to Cross Family Legal Reserve. Patricia turned toward Grant. Grant adjusted his cuff. Vendor contracts can contain mechanisms. I am not finished. The words came out quiet. They still stopped him. Evelyn stared at me as if she had found a stranger wearing my suit. Maybe she had. I slid a screenshot across the table. Last night Evelyn sent this to me by mistake. Does he know which account Caleb saw? Grant read it. His expression changed only at the corners. Evelyn reached for the page. Teresa held it still with 2 fingers. No. Evelyn laughed once. Too fast. That was about something else. What account? I asked. She looked at Grant. What account, Evelyn? Her smile arrived late. You are doing exactly what I was afraid of. No, I said. I am asking one question after months of being punished for questions. Mara's paper cup made a small sound against the table. Evelyn turned toward her. And there she is. The person who suddenly found a conscience after months of inserting herself into my relationship. Mara's face lost color, but she stayed quiet. Teresa said, Miss Ellison is here to confirm her written statement. She is not here to argue with you. Evelyn looked back at me. She wanted this. She waited until the most painful possible moment. She handed you a recorder at our rehearsal dinner. She made herself the person you ran to. I did not run to her, I said. I lifted the padded envelope from the file box. I left with this because your voice was on it. Grant leaned forward. We object to any use of private recorded material without... Teresa cut in. Preservation is not publication. Be careful. Evelyn's eyes flashed. That first copy does not prove what he thinks it proves. The room changed. Noah straightened. Patricia looked at her daughter. I had not said copy. No one had. Evelyn realized it half a second too late. Rachel's voice was low. What did you say? Evelyn looked at Mara then. Not with anger. With fear. I kept the envelope closed. You knew there was more than one copy. I said. I assumed. No. You said first copy. Grant closed his eyes briefly. It was small. A slip. But everyone heard the mask hit the table. Teresa nodded once. I opened the envelope and pressed play. Evelyn's recorded voice filled the office. He'll sign if I make it sound like I'm scared. A glass clinked in the background. Andrew apologizes before he asks questions. That's what makes him useful. I stopped it there. Not because there was nothing else. Because that was enough. Evelyn's tears came then. Maybe real. Maybe tired. I no longer wanted the job of sorting them. You don't understand what it felt like, she said. Every charge. Every change. Every person I talked to. You noticed everything. You made me feel watched. I noticed because things were missing, I said. Money, time, truth. She flinched at the last word. When I asked, I continued. You turned the question into evidence against me, Patricia whispered. Evelyn. Evelyn's face hardened. Oh, please. He loved being the good man. He loved making me look unreasonable. Noah pushed away from the window. Evain. She turned on him. You believed me this morning. I wanted to understand. You wanted to be important. That sentence had not been polished. It hit the room raw. I gathered the agreement, the emails, the bank records, Mara's statement, and the screenshot into one line across the table. I am not here to make everyone hate you, I said. Evelyn stared at me like that. Confused her. I am not here to prove I never made mistakes. I apologized too fast. I stayed quiet too long. I let you call my fear of conflict kindness. That part is mine. Mara lowered her eyes. But you do not get to make my patience look like permission. The words sat there. Short. Clean. Mine. Evelyn opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I took off the watch she had given me for our engagement and placed it beside the unsigned agreement. I am not signing your statement, I said. I am not signing the agreement. I am not sending a joint apology. And I am not marrying you. Patricia made a small sound. Evelyn reached toward the watch, then pulled her hand back. Teresa slid a document toward Grant. We expect preservation of all communications, vendor records, account instructions, and drafts related to the agreement. We also require written correction to both families and the wedding party that Andrew made no admission of control. Grant read it. He did not argue. That told me more than victory would have. Evelyn looked at Mara, then at me. You're going to let her sit there and watch this? Mara did not lift her head. I did. She is not the reason I'm leaving, I said. You are. No one spoke. Then Noah walked to the table and turned the cropped screenshot of Mara's message face down. It was not an apology. Not yet. But it was the first object in the room that stopped pointing at me. I picked up the empty file box. The recorder stayed with Teresa. The agreement stayed unsigned. The watch stayed on the table. When I stepped into the hallway, Mara remained behind to sign her statement. Rachel walked beside me. Not rescued. Not clean. Not healed. But no longer carrying a story someone else had written and called mine. The correction email went out 3 days later. It was short, careful, and almost bloodless. No admission of controlling behavior was made by Andrew Hale. The wedding has been canceled. We ask that speculation stop. Grant's name was at the bottom. Evelyn's was not. That told people enough to make them quiet, but not enough to make all of them sorry. Some friends called. Some sent messages that began with, I had no idea, and ended before they had to say I believed her. A few disappeared completely. Noah came by the shop 2 weeks later and stood near the open bay door with his hands in his pockets. I should have asked you first, he said. I was sanding the edge of a walnut tabletop, the same project Martindale had paused. The cross foundation never sent it back, but another client had bought the slabs after hearing, from somebody, that I finished work even when my own life was falling apart. I turned off the sander. Sawdust settled between us. Yes, I said. Noah nodded once. He looked relieved and hurt by the same word. I'm sorry, Drew. I did not say it was okay. That was new, I said. I know. He helped me carry the walnut top to the finishing room. We did not fix everything that day. We only moved one heavy thing from one place to another. Sometimes that is all repair is. The legal mess took longer. Teresa handled most of it. The wedding account was frozen, then reviewed. The refund redirection was stopped before it cleared. The $12,000 did not come back quickly, but it stopped being invisible. Evelyn never gave one clean apology. She sent one message through Grant that said she regretted how painful everything had become. Teresa told me not to answer it. I did not. I still wanted to, some nights. That was the part nobody warns you about. Leaving a false story does not mean your body stops reaching for the old ending. More than once, I woke on the couch in the shop with my phone in my hand and no memory of picking it up. The first time it happened, I had typed Evelyn's name into my contacts. Not called, not texted, just found the door. I deleted the search and put the phone in the drawer with the recorder. The black recorder sat beside wood samples, spare hinges, and the old watch Evelyn had given me. Teresa returned it after everything had been preserved. I had thought I would throw it away. I did not. I also did not play it again. Some truths only need to be heard once to change the shape of your life. Mara gave her statement under oath. She did not soften it. She wrote what she had done, what she had ignored, and what Evelyn had threatened. She wrote that she had helped make the lie believable before she chose to tell the truth. That sentence stayed with me longer than I wanted it to. For a while, I did not see her except in legal offices and parking lots, where people stood too far apart because standing close would have been easier and wrong. Then, in late October, she brought a broken chair to my shop. One back leg had split clean down the grain. "I know a guy," she said. I should have laughed. I almost did. Instead, I took the chair and set it on the bench. "No rush," she said. "There's always a rush with broken chairs." That time, she smiled. Not the bright kind people use when they want forgiveness. A tired one. A careful one. The kind that asked for nothing. It took me a week to fix the chair. When she came to pick it up, Rachel was there with takeout, and Noah had stopped by to return a clamp he had borrowed and never used. The four of us ended up eating at the workbench because the small table near the office was covered in varnish samples. At some point, Rachel said something sharp about Noah's parking, and everyone laughed. The sound hit me wrong. My chest tightened before my mind caught up. My hand moved toward my phone, then stopped halfway. Mara noticed. She did not ask if I was okay. She did not touch me. She only pushed a paper cup of water a few inches closer across the bench and kept listening to Rachel finish her story. That was the first time comfort did not feel like a performance. After dinner, Mara stayed to help fold the takeout bags. Noah offered to walk Rachel to her car, which meant he wanted to apologize more, and she was deciding how much to allow. Mara stood by the repaired chair. "You did good work," she said. "It was a good chair. It cracked anyway. Good things do." Her eyes stayed on the chair. "And then? Then you decide whether the break gets to be the whole story." She looked at me then. There was warmth between us. Real warmth. But it did not rush. I was still a man who flinched when a room went too quiet. She was still a woman who had waited too long to tell the truth. We did not pretend love could erase either fact. At the door, she said, "Ask me tomorrow." I remembered another doorway. Another night. The wreckage we had refused to turn into a beginning. "Tomorrow," I said. After she left, I locked the shop and stood in the dark for a minute. The recorder was in the drawer beneath the workbench. I touched the handle. I did not open it. The sentence that saved me had been simple. "Don't sign anything until you hear this." Months later, I understood it differently. Do not sign the version of yourself someone hands you just because they brought witnesses. Do not sign shame because it comes dressed as accountability. Do not sign silence because it keeps the room comfortable. The truth did not give me everything back. It gave me enough of myself to stop disappearing. And sometimes, that is where love begins. Not with someone fixing your life. Not with someone speaking over you. But with someone standing close enough to witness the truth and far enough away to let you say it yourself. Some people do not destroy you by shouting. They do it by writing a version of you that everyone else can believe. And sometimes, the person who helps save you is not the person who fixes your life. It is the person who finally says, "No, that is not what happened." If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to fight for the truth of your own life? And if you want more stories like this, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.